It was a peaceful evening in a typical neighborhood when a shocking act of betrayal disrupted the lives of a family and an entire community. What appeared to be a loving marriage hid secrets so dark that they drove one man to commit an unthinkable act, murdering those closest to him in a desperate effort to protect his lies. This tragedy uncovered a tangled web of deception, destroying the illusion of trust and leaving lingering questions about how far someone would go to conceal their true identity. Kenya Brown Harris, born on September the 15th, 1995, was raised in a middle class neighborhood in North Tulsa, Oklahoma. She was the daughter of Michael Brown, a construction foreman, and Lisa Brown, an elementary school teacher. Kenya grew up in a home that emphasized the importance of education, public service, and family values. The Browns were active members of the Greater Grace Temple, where Kenya participated in youth programs and community service from a young age. Her older brother, Jerome Brown, born March 3rd, 1993, had a significant influence on her life. A graduate of Oklahoma State University with a degree in business administration, Jerome worked as a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch's Tulsa office. Despite their demanding careers, the siblings kept a tradition of having Sunday dinners together at their parents' home, often bringing along friends and colleagues. In 2014, at 19, Kenya enrolled in the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office Training Academy, graduating at the top of her class of 24 cadets. She was especially recognized for her excellence in community relations and crisis intervention. Her instructors praised her remarkable ability to diffuse tense situations and build connections with community members. During this time, Kenya also became a mother to Marcus Brown Harris, born June 12th, 2014, showing remarkable dedication to both her career and motherhood. She met Darius Harris, born July 8th, 1992, at a friend's birthday party in late 2014. Darius, presenting himself as a successful real estate agent with Century 21, quickly became a significant part of Kenya's life. Their whirlwind romance culminated in a wedding at the Greater Grace Temple on February 14th, 2015, attended by more than 200 guests. Social media posts from this period show a young couple deeply in love, with Kenya often sharing photos of family outings and date nights, expressing gratitude for her seemingly perfect life. By September 2016, Kenya had been promoted to deputy sheriff, making her one of the youngest deputies in the department's history. Her supervisor, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, later praised her exceptional work ethic and leadership abilities. Kenya's last assignment involved overseeing community outreach programs in North Tulsa, where she worked tirelessly to build trust between the police and local residents. From the outside, the Brown Harris household seemed ideal. Kenya and Darius had bought a ranch style home in March 2015, just after their wedding, and often hosted gatherings for family and friends, with Jerome being a regular guest. However, bank records would later reveal that Darius had falsified loan documents to secure the mortgage, revealing an early sign of his deceptive nature. What was hidden from Kenya and her family was Darius's complicated personal life. While presenting himself as a devoted husband, he had cultivated relationships with several women in nearby communities. These relationships and the children born from them would eventually trigger a series of events that led to tragedy. Through careful manipulation and lies, Darius successfully hid his double life from his wife and her family throughout their marriage, maintaining a facade of happiness that would ultimately collapse in the most tragic way imaginable. By September 2016, the illusion of Darius's life started to unravel. While Kenya continued her work at the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office, her husband was involved in a complex series of deceptions that would soon result in dire consequences. Investigative records later revealed that during his marriage to Kenya, Darius had fathered children with Angela Richardson, born April 5th, 1994, and Michelle Thompson, born January 12th, 1996. Richardson gave birth to a daughter, Emma, on March 15th, 2016, while Thompson's son, James, was born on June 28th, 2016. Both women believed they were in exclusive relationships with Darius, who maintained separate identities and routines to conceal his double life. Darius orchestrated an elaborate scheme, convincing his longtime friend Marcus Wilson, born December 3rd, 1991, to impersonate him during paternity tests at various medical facilities. Wilson later testified that Darius paid him $5,000 for each impersonation, using funds embezzled from his real estate deals. These fraudulent actions would eventually catch up with him when both Richardson and Thompson filed for child support. The Oklahoma Department of Human Services initiated paternity investigations in August 2016. Despite Darius's attempts to delay the proceedings, a court date was set for October 22, 2016, at the Tulsa County Courthouse. Both Richardson and Thompson were scheduled to testify, and Kenya, as Darius's legal spouse, was required to attend. Court documents indicated that the hearing would address both the paternity claims and fraud allegations related to the falsified tests. As the hearing approached, Darius's behavior grew increasingly erratic. Surveillance footage from his real estate office showed him working late into the night, shredding documents and making numerous phone calls. His assistant, Patricia Martinez, later reported that Darius had asked her to destroy specific files and remove his name from various property transactions. Bank records from this period revealed suspicious activity between September 15th and October 20th, 2016, showing that Darius withdrew over $45,000 from multiple accounts, including joint accounts with Kenya. He also attempted to secure a rushed passport renewal, claiming he needed to attend an international real estate conference. The application, submitted on October the 18th, 2016, was later found to contain falsified information. Text messages recovered from Darius's phone revealed his growing desperation. In conversations with Wilson, he expressed fear about the impending exposure of his lies. One message sent on October 19th, 2016 read, "Everything I built is about to come crashing down. I can't let that happen." Wilson would later interpret these messages as early signs of Darius's deadly intentions. Kenya remained unaware of these developments, although colleagues at the sheriff's office noticed her increasing concern over her husband's behavior. In the days leading up to the tragedy, she confided in her partner, Deputy James Rodriguez, about Darius's unexplained absences and suspicious phone calls. Rodriguez would later testify that Kenya had planned to confront Darius after the upcoming court hearing. The situation escalated when both Richardson and Thompson attempted to reach Kenya directly. Darius intercepted these attempts by monitoring Kenya's phone and social media accounts, even going as far as creating fake profiles to block and redirect messages intended for her. Digital forensics would later reveal dozens of deleted messages and emails that could have warned Kenya about her husband's deception. In the 48 hours before the tragedy, Darius made several calculated moves that investigators would later identify as signs of premeditation. He purchased a 9mm handgun from a private seller in a neighboring county, bypassing the usual waiting period. He also visited several ATMs to withdraw cash and was seen on security cameras buying cleaning supplies and heavy-duty garbage bags from various stores in Tulsa. The events of October 21st, 2016 were carefully reconstructed through police reports, forensic evidence, and witness testimonies. The timeline of that fatal evening showed the deliberate nature of a crime that would forever alter the lives of the Brown family and shock the Tulsa community. At 7:15 p.m., Jerome Brown arrived at his sister's house for their usual evening visit. Security footage from a neighbor's camera showed him carrying takeout food from Kenya's favorite local restaurant. Kenya's son Marcus was staying with his grandparents. That evening, a choice made by Kenya, later deemed crucial by investigators, likely saved her child's life. Fam records revealed that Kenya texted her mother at 7:23 p.m., confirming Marcus was settled for the night. Between 7:30 p.m. and 10:15 p.m., Kenya and Jerome spent time together in the living room, as shown by their social media posts and text messages to family and friends. Kenya's final social media post, made at 9:47 p.m., featured a photo of her and Jerome with the caption, "Family time is the best time, Jackers sibling love." The timestamp of this post would later serve as key evidence in piecing together the timeline of events. Meanwhile, Darius Harris's actions that night were also well documented. Security footage from various places captured him visiting a hardware store at 8:45 p.m., where he purchased disposable gloves and cleaning supplies. At 9:30 p.m., he was seen at a gas station 3 miles from his home, filling a gas can. These seemingly ordinary actions would later be recognized as preparations for his crime. The fatal encounter started around 10:30 p.m., according to a forensic analysis. Darius entered the living room carrying a 9mm Smith & Wesson handgun, which he had purchased just days earlier. Kenya was lounging on the couch, still looking at her phone, while Jerome sat in an adjacent armchair watching TV. The victims' positions, determined through blood pattern analysis and bullet trajectory studies, suggested they were taken by surprise. Dr. Sarah Peterson's medical examiner report detailed the brutal precision of the attack. Kenya was shot 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the neck, and once in the head. The angles and grouping of the shot suggested that the shooter was standing directly over her. Jerome, hearing the gunshots, had started to rise from his chair when he was shot 3 times in the torso and once in the head. Both victims died within minutes, according to the medical examiner's estimated time of death. After the shootings, Darius began staging the crime scene. Crime scene photos revealed that he overturned furniture, broke a window from the outside, and scattered valuables around the house to make it look like a robbery. Forensic evidence later found traces of his DNA on the window frame, where he had staged the break-in, an important mistake that would assist prosecutors. At 10:52 p.m., Darius called Lisa Brown, Kenya and Jerome's mother. The recorded call captured his carefully rehearsed performance. "Lisa, something terrible has happened. Someone broke in. Kenya and Jerome, they're hurt bad. I'm calling the police." Lisa Brown would later testify about the unnatural calmness in his voice during the call. A 911 call followed at 10:55 p.m. Dispatch recordings revealed Darius's methodical recounting of discovering his wife and brother-in-law after allegedly returning from a business meeting. "I pulled up and saw the window broken. I found them in the living room. There's so much blood, please hurry." The dispatcher noted his unusually composed demeanor, which she recorded in her report. First responders arrived at 11:03 p.m., and Officer Michael Rodriguez, the first on the scene, documented Darius's behavior in his initial report. He noted that the subject appeared unusually calm for someone who had just discovered the murder of his wife and brother-in-law with no visible signs of distress or shock. This observation would later be crucial for the prosecution. The crime scene processing team, led by Detective James Martinez, arrived at 11:20 p.m. Their careful examination of the scene immediately revealed discrepancies in Darius's story. The staged break-in showed signs of being orchestrated, with glass from the broken window falling in patterns inconsistent with an external break-in. Additionally, valuable items were left in plain view, contradicting the supposed robbery narrative. The investigation into the murders of Kenya Brown Harris and Jerome Brown began right after the Tulsa Police Department's Homicide Division arrived at 11:20 p.m. on October 21, 2016. Detective James Martinez gathered a team of investigators who would spend the following weeks uncovering the truth behind the double homicide. The initial analysis of the crime scene by forensic expert Dr. Rachel Anderson revealed several critical inconsistencies in Darius's account. The broken window, which Darius claimed was the intruder's point of entry, showed unusual glass dispersion patterns. Dr. Anderson's report indicated that the glass fragments were primarily scattered outside the house, suggesting that the window had been broken from the inside. Furthermore, cobwebs in the window frame remained undisturbed, indicating that no one had passed through the opening. Surveillance footage from multiple sources proved to be crucial in the investigation. Neighbor Thomas Wilson's security system captured continuous footage of the house's exterior from 7 p.m. until the police arrived. The recording showed no signs of anyone entering or leaving the property during the time the murders occurred. When questioned about this footage, investigators learned that Darius had inquired about Wilson's security camera system earlier that same day, asking specifically about the camera's range and recording capabilities. Ballistics analysis, led by forensic expert Michael Thompson, provided compelling evidence against Darius. The 9mm shell casings found at the scene matched the Smith & Wesson handgun found in Darius's office safe. Records confirmed that Darius had bought the weapon only 3 days before the murders from a private seller in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Gun residue tests on Darius's hands and clothing came back positive, contradicting his claim of having discovered the bodies upon returning home. Digital forensic specialist Sarah Martinez uncovered a trail of electronic evidence that painted a clear picture of premeditation. In the weeks leading up to the murders, Darius had made numerous internet searches related to topics such as undetectable poisons, how to stage a break in, and countries without U.S. extradition. His phone records showed multiple calls to travel agencies specializing in quick international departures, and his bank statements revealed large cash withdrawals totaling over $45,000. The investigation took a significant turn when detectives interviewed Angela Richardson and Michelle Thompson. Both women provided detailed accounts of their relationships with Darius, including documentation of his paternity of their children and evidence of his elaborate schemes to avoid detection. Richardson provided investigators with text messages in which Darius expressed growing anxiety about the upcoming court hearing scheduled for October 22nd, 2016. Financial investigators discovered that Darius had organized a complex fraud scheme through his real estate business. Records revealed that he had embezzled around $230,000 from client accounts over the previous 18 months. This money had been used to sustain his multiple households and fund his various lies, including bribing people. On October 25th, 2016, just 4 days after the murders, Detective Martinez conducted a 6-hour interview with Darius. The interrogation footage showed Darius maintaining his calm until confronted with the surveillance footage from his neighbor's security system. His attempt to change his story by claiming he had acted in self-defense during an argument only served to deepen his guilt. The physical evidence collected at the crime scene was overwhelming. DNA testing confirmed that Darius's blood was found on the broken window glass, likely from a cut he sustained while staging the break-in. Fibers from his clothing were discovered on both victims, and partial blood-stained fingerprints matched his right index finger. Crime scene photos clearly showed that valuables had been intentionally scattered rather than stolen, which contradicted the robbery claim. On October 28, 2016, based on the mounting evidence, the Tulsa County District Attorney's Office formally charged Darius Harris with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of fraud, and multiple counts of falsifying legal documents. The criminal complaint emphasized the premeditated nature of the murders and outlined the elaborate steps Darius had taken to cover up the crimes. Darius's trial began on January 15, 2017, at the Tulsa County Courthouse, with Judge Margaret Reynolds presiding. Prosecutor Thomas Anderson presented the state's case, while defense attorney Robert Mitchell represented Harris. The trial, lasting 3 weeks, attracted considerable media attention and filled the courtroom daily with family, law enforcement officers, and concerned citizens. The prosecution's opening statement outlined a clear timeline of events, depicting Darius Harris as a calculated murderer who chose killing over facing the consequences of his deceptions. Anderson stressed the premeditated nature of the crimes, telling jurors, "This is not a case about a man who snapped. This is a case about a man who decided murder was preferable to the truth." Key testimony came from forensic expert Dr. Rachel Anderson, who presented scientific evidence dismantling Harris's staged break-in story. Her presentation included 3-dimensional reconstructions of the crime scene that showed Harris's initial account was impossible. Bullet trajectory analysis provided damning evidence, demonstrating that the shots could only have been fired by someone who was intimately familiar with the victim's routine and positioning in the home. Digital forensics expert Sarah Martinez provided a thorough analysis of Harris's electronic activities. Her testimony revealed over 200 suspicious searches on his devices in the weeks leading up to the murders, including inquiries about police investigation techniques and methods for destroying evidence. The jury was shown text messages between Harris and his friend Marcus Wilson discussing plans to avoid the upcoming paternity hearing. Both Angela Richardson and Michelle Thompson testified about their relationships with Harris, providing essential context for his motives. Richardson gave an emotional account of Harris's complex schemes to maintain multiple families while avoiding detection. Thompson's testimony about Harris's increasing paranoia in the days leading up to the murders helped establish his state of mind. The defense, led by Mitchell, attempted to portray Harris as a man overwhelmed by his circumstances who acted out of extreme emotional distress. They called psychologist Dr. James Peterson, who testified about the effects of severe stress on decision-making. However, this defense was effectively countered by the evidence of Harris's methodical preparations and efforts to cover up the crimes. Perhaps the most powerful testimony came from Lisa Brown, Kenya and Jerome's mother. She recounted the phone call she received from Harris the night of the murders, noting his unnaturally calm demeanor. Her testimony about the impact of the murders on the family, particularly on Kenya's young son Marcus, moved several jurors to tears. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez from the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office spoke about Kenya's exemplary service record and her recent promotion, emphasizing the promising career cut short by Harris's actions. Jerome's colleagues from Merrill Lynch discussed his professional achievements and dedication to his family, particularly to his sister. The prosecution's closing argument, delivered on February 2, 2017, carefully connected all elements of their case. Anderson highlighted the calculated nature of the murders, pointing to Harris's financial preparations, weapon purchase, and the elaborate staging of the crime scene. He concluded by reminding the jury that Harris had chosen to end 2 lives rather than face the consequences of his actions. After just 6 hours of deliberation, the jury returned their verdict on February 3, 2017. Darius Harris was found guilty on all counts: 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of fraud, and multiple counts of falsifying legal documents. During the sentencing phase, Judge Reynolds emphasized the particularly heinous nature of the crimes and Harris's complete lack of remorse. On February 10, 2017, Judge Reynolds sentenced Harris to 2 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole for the murders, plus an additional 20 years for the fraudulent activities. In delivering the sentence, she stated, "The calculated nature of these crimes, committed against those who trusted you most, demonstrates a level of depravity that demands the maximum punishment under law." The Brown family expressed relief at the verdict, but acknowledged that no punishment could ever bring back their loved ones. Michael Brown, Kenya and Jerome's father, spoke to the media outside the courthouse saying, "Today's verdict brings justice, but our loss is eternal. We will honor the memories of Kenya and Jerome by making sure their stories help prevent future tragedies." Following the trial and conviction of Darius Harris, the Tulsa community struggled with the profound effect of the murders of Kenya Brown Harris and Jerome Brown. This tragedy led to significant changes in local law enforcement procedures and efforts to prevent domestic violence. While the Brown family turned their sorrow into meaningful action, they created lasting change. On April 15, 2017, the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office held a memorial service during which Kenya's badge number 2471 was retired. Sheriff Michael Johnson announced the creation of the Kenya Brown Harris Excellence in Service Award, which would be given every year to deputies who show outstanding commitment to community policing. The department also introduced enhanced training programs focused on identifying signs of domestic violence within law enforcement families, directly inspired by Kenya's story. In May 2017, the Brown family, led by Michael and Lisa Brown, founded the Brown Harris Foundation. The organization's mission has 3 main goals: providing support for children who have lost parents to domestic violence, offering legal help to those seeking to escape abusive relationships, and educating communities about recognizing the warning signs of manipulation and deceit in relationships. In its first year, the foundation assisted over 200 families and provided educational programs to more than 50 schools across Oklahoma. Kenya's son, Marcus Brown Harris, became central to the family's healing journey. His grandparents, Michael and Lisa Brown, were granted full custody and set up a strong support system to help him cope with his loss. The foundation also created the Marcus Brown Harris Scholarship Fund to ensure that children who lose parents to domestic violence can pursue higher education despite their challenges. Marcus, now a teenager, has become an advocate for children affected by domestic violence.